Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Syamsul Wahab. My student ID number is 33210039 from 33.6A.01 class. Now, I will present the result of my answer for midterm test project classroom management. Okay, let's start. Part 1, Analyzing Classroom Organization. Analyzing classroom organization involves critically evaluating the physical layout management strategies and overall effectiveness of how a classroom is structured and operated to support teaching and learning. This analysis typically involves assessing various components such as physical environment, classroom management, instructional design, student engagement, and safety and accessibility. First, physical environment. Examining the arrangement of furniture, learning materials, and technology within the classroom space. This includes considering factors like setting arrangement and the placement of instructional aids and the accessibility of resources. Second, classroom management. Evaluating the system and procedures in place for managing student behavior, maintaining order, and facilitating smooth transition between activities. This may involve observing how the teacher establishes and reinforce expectation, as well as how they respond to disruption or challenge. And third, instructional design. Instructional designs. Analyzing how the physical layout and organization of the classroom support different instructional approaches and activities. This includes considering whether the space facilitates whole group instruction, small group collaboration, independent work, or other teaching methods. And next, student engagement. Assessing the extent to which the classroom environment promotes student engagement, participation, and interaction. This includes observing opportunities for student-centered learning, peer collaboration, and active participation in lesson. And last, safety and accessibility. Ensuring that the classroom environment is safe, welcoming, and inclusive for all students. This involves considering factors such as physical safety measures, accommodation for students with disabilities, and the overall inclusivity of the learning environment. Wait, sorry. Overall, analyzing classroom organization involves taking a comprehensive look at the various elements that contribute to the overall functioning and effectiveness of the learning environment. This process helps educators identify strengths, address weaknesses, and make informed decisions to optimize student learning outcomes. Okay, next to part 2, solving the problem. And the first problem is Mr. Eleazar repeatedly had problems when leading a class discussion with his junior high school students. No matter how involved in the topic the students were, there were usually several students sitting in the back who would talk, shout out silly answers, and play with objects they had brought from home. Okay, to solve the problem, solve the first problem, here's a plan to help Mr. Eleazar manage the situation. First, establish clear expectation. Mr. Eleazar should set clear expectation for classroom behavior from the beginning of the school year. He can discuss this expectation with students and involve them in creating class rules. Next, engaging lesson. Design lesson that actively engage students and capture their interest in interactive activities, group discussion, and hands-on learning can help keep students focused and less likely to engage in disruptive behavior. Next, positive reinforcement. Acknowledge and reward students who demonstrate positive behavior during class discussion. This can include verbal praise, small incentives, or privilege. Next, addressing disruptive behavior. When disruptive behavior occurs, Mr. Eliezer should address it promptly but calmly. He can use nonverbal cues such as proximity to the disruptive student or a brief pause in teaching to signal that their behavior is not acceptable. And last, redirecting attention. Encourage students to redirect their attention back to the discussion by asking them questions related to the topic or involving them in the conversation in a constructive way. By implementing these strategies consistently, I think Mr. Elijah can create a more conducive learning environment where students are actively engaged in class discussion and disruptive behavior is minimized. Okay, next to second problem. Zefano was one of the most provocative and disruptive students Miss Giandra had ever taught. Throughout class, he continuously talked to girls and teased students sitting near him. He made inappropriate and sarcastic remarks in response to almost anything Miss Giandra said. When confronted by her, Zefano grinned charmingly and responded with exaggerated courtesy to the delight of the other student. Addressing Javanos disruptive behavior requires a multi, multifaceted approach. First, private conversation. Miss Jandra should have a private conversation with Jevano to discuss his behavior. She can express her concerns calmly and directly, emphasizing the impact of his action on the learning environment and the respect owed to both her and his classmates. Plan number two, plan two. Set clear expectation. Miss Giandra should clearly outline expectation for behavior in her classroom, emphasizing respect, active participation, and appropriate communication. This expectation should be communicated to all students, including Zepano, and reinforced consistently. Next, consequences. Clearly communicate consequences for continued disruptive behavior. These consequences should be fair, consistent, and proportional to the behavior exhibited. Consistently enforce consequences if Giovanni continues to disrupt the class. Next, supportive environment. Ensure that Giovanni feels supported and valued in the classroom. Foster a positive teacher-student relationship by showing interest in his well-being and offering encouragement and guidance when needed. And last, plan for this problem. Communication with parents. Keep open lines of communication with Jevano's parents or guardians. Inform them of the behavior challenges he is facing in class and work collaboratively to address them both at school and at home. By implementing these strategies or this plan consistently and with patience, I think this genre can help Jevano understand the expectation for behavior in her classroom and support him in making positive change. Okay, next to last problem. For this problem, Miss Yeskila was concerned about the frequent teasing that had begun in her class. It reached the point where there was constant bickering among the students. They became so angry, began yelling, shouting, and shoving one another during class. Okay, addressing the escalating conflict in Miss Yeskila's class requires immediate intervention to de-escalate tension and establish a positive learning environment. I will give a plan to address the situation. First, immediate intervention. When conflict arises, Ms. Heskiela should intervene immediately to prevent further escalation. She can calmly but firmly address the student involved, separating them if necessary and redirecting their focus back to the lesson. Number two, conflict resolution strategies. Teach students conflict resolution strategies to help them manage disagreement constructively. This can include techniques such as active listening, expressing feelings calmly, and seeking compromise. Next, restorative practice. Implement restorative practice to address the harm caused by the conflict. This can involve facilitate discussion where students have the opportunity to share their perspectives, express empathy, and work towards reconciliation. reconciliation. Next, peer mediation. Train selected students as peer mediators who can help their classmates resolve conflict peacefully. Peer mediators can facilitate discussion between conflicting parties and help them find mutually acceptable solutions. And last, parent involvement. Parent involvement keep parents informed about the conflict occurring in the classroom and enlist their support in reinforcing positive behavior at home. Collaborate with parents to address underlying issues that may be contributing to the conflict. By these strategies and by implementing these strategies consistently and creating a supportive and inclusive classroom environment, I think Ms. Yeheskila can help her students learn to manage conflict constructively and foster a positive learning environment for all. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.